surrounded by piles of paint tubes, jars filled with paint brushes, and other sorts of tools. Nikesha Breeze is hard at work.
I can just let the work do the work.
But Nikesha isn't alone in this studio. In fact, faces fill this house workspace.
Just so many little details.
These portraits are just as intricate as the people in them. Nikesha learned their stories a few years ago.
I began to study a ton around the history of African American people.
That research inspired Nikesha's first portraits ever, not intended for anyone to see, just a cathartic exercise. Those same first portraits gave Nikesha validation to create the next piece.
And then I started in the research trying to figure out what are some of the ways that people honor the dead.
So, how to honor the millions of faceless and nameless victims of the African slave trade.
In that research, I found the tradition of death masks.
So came the 108 death masks.
It was very easy to romanticize the idea of what my ancestors would look like. And I ended up deciding that the only way I could do it right would be to really engage with a ritual process.
Sculpting one mask a day for 108 days straight.
I would cut a piece of clay. I would roll it out smooth. I would take the next hours and scar the clay. Sometimes I'd put it in extreme heat or extreme cold, imagining the conditions that enslaved people were in. Sometimes I would hit it with leather straps like whips. And by the end, they were marked with all of these historical textures.
The completed installation caught the attention of the Equal Justice Initiative.
We're creating a new monument. The question was, can I recreate this work in bronze?
Take a look around Nikesha's studio today and you can guess that answer.
I decided to do the work in West Africa, in the land of the ancestors.
So for 4.5 months, Nikesha worked alongside a master caster.
We did the entire process in the most archaic way. So it was collected beeswax, donkey dung, clay from termite mounds, sand from the earth, and we blended those all together and then individually pressed that into the wax. Baked it in a huge open fire, then poured the bronze into each of these clay molds. I worked with just hand sanding and grinding each one.
Now the newly made bronze masks are mounted on this 100-foot wall at the Freedom Monument Sculpture Park, a new national monument by the EJI, built along the banks of the Alabama River, where once many faced the horrors of the slave trade. People can now stand eye level with Nikesha's work.
And I invite folks to come up and to take a single breath with each mask, a single prayer, really, for peace and justice.
And stand face to face with the ancestors behind them.
I made 108, but we can imagine 1 million behind each mask.
So what started as a journey for individual truth led to a lot more.
Remembrance, ritual, reparation,
Carving out a piece of history and re-sculpting it for generations past and to come.
Consciously holding and being accountable to our past. We are shifting our future.
Darlene Melendez.
The whole thing is not even my plan.
KOAT.
I'm just the hand.
Action 7 News.